Hello, Emma,
Hi, Misa.
and welcome to our interview with doers, doer women.
Yeah, do women.
Let's do it. What makes you excited when you get up in the morning? Tell me a little bit about
Oh,
yourself and what you do and what's driving you right now.
what makes me excited is that every day is full of possibilities for me at the moment. I'm in a really beautiful and exciting place of change, and that change has sort of come from my journey, and actually this being the start of January 2017. It's all about every day is about my truth and other people's truth. And what that means and how that translates is different depending on my day. So some days it might be I'm getting up and I'm talking about a potential film that I'm making, or my show that I'm doing, or an event like this one that I'm hosting, or going off on a residential and helping other people find out their truth. So each day I'm genuinely so excited about 2017, because it's like, yay, I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. And it really has taken 20 odd years to get here. But 2017 already, and today's what, the third or the fourth, I think, already feels so entirely different for me, because it feels very congruent. And last night I did my vision board for this year. And I've done vision boards for the last 4 years. And this vision board, it genuinely surprised me, because it's the girliest vision board I've ever done. So make you chuckle. I mean, there's pink on it. There's pink
Really?
on it. Oh no, exactly. I did pink out of my own choice, and hearts.
What's
And
going
I
on?
literally, I sort of looked at it and went, yeah, everything is just going to be colourful and full of joy and possible. So that's what makes me excited. And also the fact that I get to see my lovely little 4.5-year-old who's just loving life every day. So obviously him as well.
And tell me a little bit about TruthWorks.
TruthWorks is a place for very curious and successful and smart people to really spend some time working on their story, working on how they can connect with all their different audiences. And it's a space which is quite limited, because we only work with a sort of select few amount of people. And it's a place where people can really find their truth. And then, because they found it in terms of their story, everyone kind of knows their values, I think, when they hit a level of success. But how does that manifest in your stories? How does that manifest in your behavior? And how do you really live your truth? And that's what we help people do. We take people away on a residential, just 6 people, myself and my business partner, for 3 days. And in that time, we really do change people's lives. And it's a real privilege to hear and witness and guide this amazing journey that people go on. And then I get to work with everybody on an individual basis. So I literally see people going from being good to being great, or being great to exceptional. And it's truly, truly a privilege. And I feel very honoured that I get to do this as my supposed job. I don't really have a job. I get to do it, which is brilliant.
People pay for it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
get
they
to
do.
pay your bills. And it's a
Yeah,
big premise,
exactly.
but to all the viewers, it is true. I've been to one of those camps, and it is transformational. And I probably wouldn't have put together Festival of Doers if I didn't do the camp with you guys. So thank you for that.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
How do you define success on a personal level? What does success mean to you?
Um, I pondered this when you sent that through, and I really think success for me is simply freedom. Success is that freedom to do the things that make your heart sing, to do the tough stuff, to do what it is that you really do know you're meant to do. But it also, with that freedom, it gives you that permission to change, because quite often we think that we have to do one thing, or we get set going down a route in a certain way. And for me, if you have freedom, then you're successful. And that could be freedom financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally. It's probably all of those together. But once you have freedom, then in my mind, you have success.
Yeah, it's very easy to get caught up in success, and it might stop you from changing. So looking back, kind of the corporate career bit, I could have thought, okay, this is it. I'm so successful that I shouldn't do anything else, and it would have stopped me from changing. But to change, there's dips, and those dips are the scary part. But I think when you look at success from a point of view of freedom, then you will never get stuck, because that gives you that permission to change.
Yeah.
Really like that. Do you feel that now you're living that success in terms of you feel free?
Far more than I ever have done.
Yeah.
Far more than I ever have done. I think the last sort of 2016, 2015 was sort of quite an interesting time for me in terms of really remembering and working on who Emma Stroud is and what I really want for me. And I think as a natural sort of people pleaser, I can quite easily get caught up looking after lots of other people, and and I created this club, and it was all and it's successful, but actually the freedom was sort of, again, working with some really smart people. They asked me the questions of like, is this really what you want to be doing? Is this what makes your heart sing? And so yeah, now, as I say, with 2017, I'd say I'm sort of 80% there. There's a little bit of trepidation because it's like, well, this is slightly new and global and all of that stuff, but actually, it's a lot closer, and it feels a lot more aligned, and as a result of that, there already feels a sense of freedom, and just in terms of my own self-care practice, in terms of my emotional, my own spiritual well-being, I'm a lot freer in that because I put the groundwork in, know. But this doesn't happen overnight. This has taken a really long time.
Could you talk me a little bit about that journey? So some setbacks, or that groundwork that you have been doing.
I mean, one of the first sort of things. So I've worked with my business partner Dion for I think it's 14 years now, which is terrifying. And we originally set up a theatre company. So we met as two actors. We both had a business background, but we met as two actors. And we set up a theatre company and were pretty successful. So we sold out Edinburgh Fringe, did national tours, that type of thing. And we then sort of fell into the world of working with businesses. And when I say fell into, literally two mates went, could you come in and do? And we went, yeah, all right. And from that, we then suddenly found that we had quite a successful business. And we then, honestly, I got kind of distracted, dare I say it, probably by my own ego of like, well, I should be a businesswoman. This is what I am. I'm a businesswoman. So we set up a very traditional learning and development company, because we thought, well, people won't take us seriously if we run a theatre company. And sort of a year into doing that, we were very reliant on a very large contract, and we were employing quite a lot of people, and it was all going okay. And then this contract, for whatever reasons, all fell through. And I remember looking in our very plush office, looking at Dion at about 8:30, and we had a bottle of wine, and all of the team we'd sent home, sort of thing, well, they'd gone because it was 8:30 in the evening. And we just went, what are we doing? Because we realised that we couldn't actually afford to keep any of them on. And we realised that, and we'd pulled quite a lot of people in to do this contract. And we just went, we've got to close this. And that moment where we had to make the decision that we were going to have to let quite a lot of people go, give up their jobs, all of that stuff, was honestly one of the worst feelings I think I've ever had, because I am a people pleaser, as I said, and people kind of follow me because of, which is lovely. I guess I am a natural leader, and having that moment of just going, it hasn't worked, was awful. But in the same way, as I believe with everybody else that I've heard where they've had businesses that have failed, or, relationships that have, once you kind of get out of that anguish and that grief, and almost like that grief cycle that I think you go into, suddenly it was like, actually, this is perhaps the best thing that's ever happened to us. And actually, perhaps this is a time to stop and refresh and check in on self and check in on each other. And that was gosh, that was about 7-8 years ago that happened. And it was still one of those pivotal moments. Hence me talking about it now. And then you sort of fast forward sort of a few years. And again, we've made some other mistakes. Businesses go like this, you know, you think you've nailed it. You're like, yeah, I've got it so right. Nothing is going to go wrong now. And then suddenly go, oh, that's gone wrong. But all the things that do go wrong have enabled me to get to where I am now. But as I say, this is 7-8 years, you know, and I also lost part of my own truth, because at that point, I completely shut down my creative part of me. I was like, right, I'm going to set up a business. I'm going to employ loads of people. I'm going to be an MD. And actually, in my heart, I'm a performer. I'm a host. I'm a speaker. I'm like radio, TV. I love comedy. I also love working with smart people. But if I don't do those other things, I'm no good to those smart people. But I shut that all down. And that was a massive setback. Because I honestly...
You got to nourish yourself.
Yeah. And if you don't nourish and don't really listen to what makes your heart sing, what is your calling, and you give it enough attention, then I don't think anything else will really work anyway. I think you're kind of like fighting against stuff. Yeah. You know, and when you see people that are, and I mean, you know, like when you see people that are truly aligned, and that could be that they're a lawyer, a doctor, a florist, a teacher, somebody that makes loo roll, it doesn't matter what it is, but if they are aligned, you just get it, and they get it, and it's like, that's what you're meant to be doing. And the weird thing is as soon as I went, right, I'm going back to performing, I'm going to do more impro, I'm going to do my shows, as soon as I did that, lo and behold, all the other doors open up, you know, and I get amazing opportunities like you've given me to come and host this fab event. You know, it's doors open because people see it and they feel it. And that's the most important thing, is that you can hear lots of words and stuff, but when you really feel it, when you meet someone who's truly congruent, authentic, whatever word you want to use, it's a beautiful thing, and more people need to be it.
Yes. And what would be your top tip for somebody who's kind of looking for that more authentic path and wants to make changes, probably will involve also career-wise, is a bit scared to get started? What would be your top tip to get them going?
Ask yourself the question, what would be the worst thing that could happen? And it's very unlike me to use negative language, but I think it's such a beautiful place to start. What would be the worst that can happen? And quite often when I work with people who are in change or, you know, and shifting and moving, the worst that can happen is they might just have to go and get another job. That's, you know, or the worst that can happen is it doesn't work and they end up doing something different. And I think once you've identified what is the worst thing that can happen, then that takes away the fear. Because I think when you're starting on this journey of doing, of changing, of shifting, it's our fear voice, because we've all got little voices, it's our fear voice that can be really loud. But you need to acknowledge it. You need to hear, okay, that's what's scaring me. It's that I'm not going to have enough money, or I'm not going to have enough, whatever it is. Hear what's the worst that can happen. And once you've done that, suddenly it's like, that really is the worst that can happen. Oh, okay, well, that perhaps isn't quite so bad. And if you can then look at it and take that fear voice, see it, and then kind of separate yourself, suddenly making that first step, you know, going and joining that group like Driven Women, or going and finding a brilliant mentor or a coach, or reading a book, whatever it is, that first step, whatever feels right for you, suddenly won't seem quite so scary, because you already know what's the worst that can happen. And then once you've done that, just be brave, you know, just be brave.
Get started. Take the first step.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Emma. We will have the pleasure of seeing you all day at the Festival of Doers.
You will?
Yeah. Woo. I'm so excited. Emma is going to be hosting Festival of Doers on the 27th of January in London, with lots of other exceptionally inspiring doer women who've decided to take a more authentic path. Thank you, Emma, for this interview, and see you very soon.
Thank you very much. See you then. Bye.